Why does it have to be a dream? Why can't it be playtime playing cowboys and Indians in the forest?
My grandfather always had this story of him playing cowboys and Indians. Well, here that would be on PC.
Leave the cowboys and
The forest is a place of imagination, like you said, so it doesn't have to be a dream, it's imagination.
Yeah.
Okay, so what if one of our two main characters, either the boy or the girl, is imaginary and is also the teacher archetype, teaching the other one about the forest? So like the imaginary one could be kind of like the Lorax, in that he or she knows all about the trees and can tell the other character what the trees are thinking and what the trees are saying.
I think the imaginary character should be able to leave the forest. Like the kid has to go to the forest and meet the character.
Yeah, like the little boy runs into the forest and he meets this girl.
And then like the woods would be an extension of imagination.
But then I feel that if we did that, we'd be concerned more about the imaginary friend. What if we did it more like a Giving Tree kind of situation?
That's what I
where a character goes in and he meets a tree that is alive. Like, he's not imagining it being alive, it is alive. Like, that's where the magic comes in. And then you begin to care about trees. And then it's not the creatures or the imaginary friends around them, it's the actual trees that you care about. And the tree is humorous and the kids begin to like him. Not sure how, but we will. And then he says, well, I'm not very healthy. And that's when the kid's like, what? But how can I make you healthy? I want to help. I want to keep you around. And then that's where you get the connection.
See, go biblical on it, you know? Like go tree of knowledge, tree of wisdom. The fountain, right? That tree. Then you've got the Buddha tree, you know? And kind of like this place of wisdom.
Okay, so we have like a boy and a girl, and they come across this tree of wisdom. But then, I think after they meet the tree of wisdom, then you get your other characters, like your animals from the forest.
They're playing in the unhealthy forest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're playing in the imaginary world, and then they get to the edge of the forest, right? Archetypal, the edge of the forest, right? And what's beyond the edge of the forest? That tree. What's that tree? Look at that tree. Wow, there's something to that tree. Let's go see what's up.
And because it's separate from all the trees, it also incorporates the idea of the healthy forest as being in small clumps.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's like the only one.
So good.
And how did that tree get to be what it is? And why are these trees like that? And then the wise old owl descends and tells them.
I think you could almost also have then your like small, young, mangy, unhealthy tree puppets come in and be like, oh, look at us, we're the unhealthy trees or whatever, and be like annoying little children or something.
Well,
yeah.
Just so that you have an example.
Burn.
You have like an example of this unhealthy.
I almost feel like that one tree that's all on its own, the moment you leave the edge of the forest, you enter like the imagination, you leave reality in that one tree. That's why it's like that. That's why it's on its own. That's why.
Yeah, so the kids in the unhealthy forest are relying on their imagination, but then when they get to the wise old tree, he becomes the imagination.
The wise old tree is he's still like alive with the Giving Tree situation, because then we could like stop, not just teach about saving our forest, but we could teach about selfishness and let the tree be healthy and be like, I want to save my friends who are unhealthy, and that.
Yeah. Because right behind the wise old tree
like
is the crown fire, the remnants.
I think we need to build more of like a connection with the children in the tree. Because right now it's just some random tree in the forest.
Well, you definitely don't want it to be like, I am a tree. You want to be like, hey kids,
did you ever
a tree.
Did you ever play in the forest as a kid, Heather? Did you ever play in the forest?
Well, I think
because you don't just like go into the forest and be like, I'm going to play in this area of the forest, and then I'm going to play in this area. You have one tree that you go to when you play in the forest.
Well, I think if they found like a bird's nest or like something like by the tree and like they want to take care of.
Or a talking tree. That'd be cool too.
That's always kind of like.
But that's archetypal too. So where do trees talk? Lord of the Rings, was it Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland?
Wizard of Oz,
Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland.
they do in Narnia, the Narnia series.
Narnia, yeah.
All the
Ponderosa Peak.
stories.
Ponderosa Peak.
What do they say about Sandy
Sorry.
Hook? It's he who must not be named ever again.
I think the play should start out with Ponderosa Pete, and then he gets chopped down as he's done.
Okay, I think that in order for kids to connect to the tree, it has to be more than just a tree, because trees are, they're static, they don't move. It has to be something that can play with them. So maybe the spirit of the tree is what talks to them and can play with them, but
What are the tree?
spirit,
Oh, the spirit.
the tree, but the tree can kind of leave itself and play with these kids.
So like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time kind of thing.
What if it was
Dry.
what if it was a dead tree and then the spirit came out? And then they're like, why did this happen?
Well,
But I mean, think about the giving tree. Like,
I think that if you do bring in spirits, that's what disconnects the child
Yeah.
from the forest.
Yeah, it has to be the tree.
So
I
like
mean,
you can make it a tree and it can still interact, kind of like in Pocahontas, how it was grandmother willow, and she would like mess with stuff. Like it was still moving,
I'm done
and
with
you
it.
just loved it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm bringing it in.
The
It's
tree
a
either
tree
needs to
that's
be
interacting.
Either needs to be like an Ent or it needs to be like a Dryad. One or the other.
Why can't it be a
or
tree?
it could be
Yeah,
a tree.
I really disagree with the whole spirit goes symbolism thing. I really think the kids will relate the most if the tree is alive. Like the tree can run around. The tree itself, not the spirit of the tree, not the dryad or whatever. It's the tree. It moves. It talks. It runs around. It plays. You know, like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, the giving tree didn't run around and play with them. The giving tree didn't have a spirit pop out.
What if did the fountain, but the fountain was alive?
What if the tree was alive, but it was all bleeped up with graffiti and people carving into it?
That'd be pretty
My kids would
gruesome.
just move in branches and be like, children, come climb on my branches. Like
And then
every
the
other
branches
living
fall.
tree and every other story that is rooted to the ground will move its branches.
I think you guys dismissed that spirit idea too quickly and too easily.
Well,
It had power to it.
I just think it's
I think-
a little fussy.
I think
we
you're
can
so
keep it
dumb.
simple.
The idea of the spirit of something is like really elemental when you're a kid. You think of things in a different way. Like the spirit of something, you can believe in that. Like if you say, I'm the spirit of this tree and I'm in your dream and I'm going to talk to you and we're going to interact. Kids are going to accept that because they're children. And children accept things. They don't accept everything, but if you give them something like something that has substance, they'll accept it. And you guys are just like, oh, kids aren't going to connect to that idea. That's going to disconnect them from the forest. But that's I don't think that's true. Like, I can't think of any examples. Like, but it's not a worthless idea.
Well, no, I
My
mean,
neighbor Totoro.
Well,
He was
the
a spirit
problem
of the forest.
is
Hayao Miyazaki.
We should all watch this.
Princess Mononoke.
but I think me personally, like, I saw those movies as a kid and I was kind of like, what is going on here? Like, I mean, now I'm not a kid, but seriously, like the spirit of the tree, I would have no idea where this person came from or what they were about. Just
Unless they
me as a kid, I don't know.
What
Yeah, if they came out of the tree.
if they were in the tree?
The
Like,
problem would be, like, I can see the first through third graders thing, but the fourth and fifth graders, that's the one we'd have problems with the spirit of the tree. Like, I think
we
it
just
would
have
work.
to make what the spirit
I could go with Blake. I think we're discounting imagination too much because then
I don't know,
why was Harry Potter a success?
Like, you just open it and you're standing there, you've got this big tree, and like the spirit, like holding their arms like this or something, and then the spirit comes off of the tree, and there's that physical connection that says these two are the same, and at the same time there's like, this is the spirit and this is the actuality, and there's like the degradation, like kind of a picture of Dorian Gray, like, you know, the spirit stays intact, but you see the decline in its physical. Well, except it's the opposite of the Dorian Gray. Like, but you know, I don't know. Now I forgot where I was going.
And let me say, I saw in the Fringe Festival 3 years ago in DC. I don't know what brought me to it, but I saw it was like the fairy elf or something like that. So like Michael Vin is going to the fairy elf, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't know why. It must have just been where I was. And so I sit down, and there were very few words. It was mostly told through dance and violin. And it was powerful stuff. And like what the fairy king would come out, and through dance, it was the story of how he controlled the other fairies and sent them off to do their thing. And it was really powerful stuff. So let's not forget dance too. Winston.
Possibly you could have the tree, like the physical tree in reality, but when they go to their dreams, it could be the spirit of the tree there, out there in their dreams.
And Rose?
I agree with Nick because how do you make a kid relate to a tree? Like, I think it'd be so much easier to give the child something that reflects it, like a human spirit, like a dryad or a naiad, that it could like anchor itself to, instead of just a tree with bark and branches and pine needles, more so like a spirit of a tree. So they can see like a child within like this like natural thing.
I think that everybody would be